We haven't even talked about the mountains of misinformation and propagandists that were able to lull America into ignoring major extremist groups in the country, and how a lot of these grifter sites like OANN and the Daily Caller and Fox News are literally designed to queef past FCC rules and propaganda laws. And maybe we should fix those laws? But even with the laws we have now, there should definitely be investigations into people like Andy Ngo for spending his entire career doing PR for the Proud Boys, a group Canada just labeled terrorists. If you know Andy, then you know that he's been using selective editing and photography to spin Antifa clashes with white supremacists as acts of unprompted leftist violence. Like the time he posted a video of Antifa attacking, quote, people on a bus with a hammer, without mentioning that the innocent bus victims were actually a white supremacist group who, as seen in previous photos, actually had the hammer to begin with. And when I showed him another angle and asked him where the hammer came from, he blocked me. Hi, Andy. How's that British accent that's fake going for you? Anyway, one time someone threw a milkshake at him and he claimed it gave him a brain hemorrhage and then refused to show his medical records and then set up a GoFundMe and made almost $200,000. Because he's a hack grifter, you see. Oh, also, he once helped make a list of journalists with, quote, Antifa ideologies. It was actually just journalists who followed Antifa accounts, and then that list was used by white supremacists and accelerationist terrorists as a list of people to try to hurt and kill. Oh, also, there's footage of him hanging out with right-wing militias as they planned an assault, so yeah.
Gotcha, okay. Huh. Yes. What's that?
We were just checking which way the wind was blowing so we don't spray ourselves.
Yeah, that would suck.
There's 100 of them there? I'll take the first 3.
Let's go get a beer and say fuck it.
Huh? Okay.
I know a lot about fighting. Don't do it.
How many are there?
If we waltz up in
Yes,
there,
they're all sitting there drinking and waiting.
How many are there?
Like,
They know we're coming because you put it on Facebook.
Oh, they
okay.
Right.
So we stroll by there. Are they coming out?
No, but they saw me and they know I'm telling. So
Let's just walk by there.
no,
Thing is, he's saying there's like a
No.
50 or 100 guys on the parking lot.
it's not. No.
I don't think we're going to be able to get
There's a
inside.
bunch of people with
You
no
guys wanna
jobs
walk past,
who don't care about
just
going
walk
in.
around and walk. I'm down for that.
You see him in there? Just smiling and waiting to film, but not actually filming as members of Patriot Prayer stood around and planned a Mayday attack on a local restaurant that they suspected contained Antifa members dining. You can hear them literally talking about spraying people with gas. The resulting attack would leave one woman unconscious. This was led by Patriot Prayer big shot Joey Gibson, who would go on to storm the Oregon Capitol in January with other members, one of which now charged with assaulting police officers because they are a terrorist group. People literally planning violent attacks on businesses and government buildings, and just people dining, while Andy Ngo quietly followed along like their personal PR photographer. And while there's like countless articles breaking down the many lies he's made, or the many false claims he's retweeted, for some reason, this motherfucker just published a book of more lies and typos and testified before Congress.
Thank you, Chairman Cruz, Ranking Member Hirono, and members of the committee. Antifa is not a myth.
While wearing his best fake British accent, too. It's fake. The accent is fake. He's a fraud. It's a fake accent. This pathological liar and weirdo was invited by Ted Cruz, another weirdo and liar, to talk about the Antifa menace back in August, roughly 6 months before the US Capitol was violently attacked by, not Antifa. In fact, they were so not Antifa that they were actually the people Antifa opposes, also known as the, FA. Jeez, it's almost like this whole time there was an uptick in white supremacist extremist violence, and instead of addressing it, politicians focused on the counter-protesters to those groups. And a lot of people, like Andy Ngo, spent their careers aiding those extremists by unfairly labeling Antifa as the real problem. And maybe we now need to recognize that and never, ever, 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 ever listen to the grifters who tried to tell us that right-wing violence wasn't an issue and investigate whether or not they knew at the time they were lying about the threat of Antifa being somehow worse than all the Nazi militias brewing in this country and dig into their associations with these terrorists. Hey, thanks for watching that clip. Here's the evergreen end plate to ask you to like and subscribe. It's any day of the year where you are